New moons are about new beginnings, and in the sign of Leo, these new beginnings are centered around our passions, creative spirit, and our heart's truest desires. Themes such as courage, pride, and confidence are going to come into sharp focus, allowing us to manifest things that help us stand apart from the crowd. In this video, I'll be discussing the 5 things you need to know for the upcoming new moon in Leo and what you can do to make the most of it. So stick around, you don't want to miss this. What's up, everybody? As always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Mel. I'm the founder of Divine Feminine Works, where we help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. And if you're returning, as always, welcome back. All right, so today I'm going to be discussing the upcoming new moon in Leo happening on Thursday, July 28th at 1:55 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you know the deal, especially if you watch any of my other moon series videos, you know that new moons are all about new beginnings. It's when we plant new seeds, it's when we set new intentions, and when we set our sights on new manifestations. It's the time of the month where we get a do-over. The lunar cycle restarts, and in a way, so do we. Leo new moons in particular are always dope in my opinion because they allow us to have some fun with manifesting. Leo energy is fun, it's playful, and most importantly speaks to our inner child. So when we tap into this Leo energy, we can really manifest things that not only satisfy our inner child, but really make us feel good because they come straight from our hearts. One of the major themes of this new moon is going to be the concept of courage. When it comes to manifesting all these fun things, it's going to be really important for us to be courageous, not only to stick to what we're trying to manifest, even when things change up on us, but to have the courage to put ourselves out there authentically and truly follow our hearts. So without further ado, let's get into the 5 things you need to know for this upcoming new moon in Leo. And stick around until the end because I've pulled some cards and I'm going to give us a message from Spirit. All right, so let's get into it. Number 1, this new moon is going to be fun, dramatic, and lucky. All right, so let's get down to basics first of all. New moons are the start of the lunar cycle. They symbolize newness, starting fresh, and planting new seeds. Now, I'm sure if you've watched any of my other videos, you're a pro at this already. But for anyone who's new, let's just break down what new moons are in technical terms, all right? So the new moon phase of the moon is when the sun and the moon are conjunct. In astrology, a conjunction is when 2 or more planets are at the exact same degree, or they are 8 degrees apart. And symbolically, conjunctions denote synergy and unity. What makes this particular moon stand out is that the sun is actually in its home sign of Leo. So when a planet is in its home sign, it's super comfortable. Think about when you're in your own home, right? Don't you feel super comfortable? Like you can walk around naked, you can leave the fridge door open, you can leave clothes all over the floor because it's your home, right? That's exactly how a planet feels when it's in its home sign. But most importantly, the planet is free to express itself unapologetically. That's exactly what this new moon is all about. Leo is a fun and dramatic sign that's really focused on being the star of the show, being in the limelight. Leo is also very dramatic and attention seeking. I mean, just look at any of the Leos in your life. I'm sure that they fit at least one of those descriptions, right? Apart from that, Leo is very expressive. Being a fire sign, Leo is all about action and expression, particularly expression that comes from the heart, expressing your true and authentic self, okay? So when it comes to manifesting during this new moon, it's important to be courageous to really follow your heart. What I love about Leo energy, like I mentioned before, is that it's very much about your inner child. And sometimes when we think about things that we want in life, we think of it from a very adult standpoint, meaning that, oh, maybe this isn't practical. Maybe I can't do this right now. Whereas kids are just like, fuck it. Kids just want to do whatever they want to do. And that's sort of the energy you have to have with this new moon. So when you're thinking about what you want to manifest, when you're thinking about the future, think of it from the heart and the eyes of a child. Be childlike and, put adulting to the side for a moment and really try to manifest things that truly make your heart sing. One of the best features of this new moon is that it is extremely lucky, like I mentioned before. All right, so the reason why this moon is so lucky is because it is a cazimi moon. So let me explain what that is. In astrology, a planet is cazimi when its center is 17 minutes of an arc from the center of the sun, okay? I know that sounds like super technical astrology jargon, but for all intents and purposes, what you need to know is that a planet is cazimi when it's at this sweet spot in relation to the sun. So think about the sun generally. When anything gets too close to the sun, it gets burned. And so when a planet gets too close to the sun, it doesn't burn off, but its energy sort of gets burnt off by the sun. Okay, but when a planet is cazimi, it's in that sweet spot where the sun doesn't burn off its energy, but the sun can still sort of energize that planet's energy, all right? And when a planet is cazimi, it's known to be an extremely auspicious thing. Like it's supposed to be super lucky. So this new moon is really about like wishing upon a star. And I love this for this new moon, especially because it's going down in Leo, because again, it speaks to our inner child. So when manifesting, dream big. Again, take this new moon from the perspective, like from the heart and the eyes of a child, and really wish upon a star, because being that this is a cazimi moon, I feel like your biggest and truest wishes can definitely come true. Number 2, this new moon is very romantic and creative. As a fixed fire sign, Leo is very romantic, passionate, and creative. Leo is the second of the 3 fire signs and is characterized as being full of spirit, loving, warm, generous, and extroverted. Leo also rules the heart in the physical body, so it shouldn't come as any surprise that matters of the heart are going to creep their way into the energy of this new moon. So regardless of where this new moon is going down in your chart, you sort of have the energy of romance at your disposal. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to manifest like a complete new romance or a romantic relationship between someone. It really could just mean that you want to manifest the nice beginning bubble love stages of whatever it is you're trying to manifest, right? So for example, if this new moon is going down in your 10th house of career and public life, maybe you're trying to manifest a new job that you really love, that speaks to your creative abilities, and that feels good, right? In that romantic, idealized sort of way. Leo energy is also very creative. So when we tap into our heart space, we're not only living authentically, but we're also tapping into our creative abilities. And that's exactly how Leo likes to live. So with this new moon, don't be afraid to not only tap into your heart, listen to your inner child, but be creative and don't be afraid to stand out, okay? This is your world and you are the creator. And I feel like Leo energy, particularly with this new moon, is going to show you just that. Number 3, this new moon is about change and adaptability. Inherent in new beginnings is the energy of change. Unless you want more of the same, manifesting a new beginning will require some sort of shift or change, either in your perspective or your circumstances. Now, Leo is a fixed sign, so change isn't necessarily Leo's thing. Like Leo is more about maintaining the energy rather than changing or changing with the energy. But what makes this new moon about change is the degree at which it's happening. The new moon is happening at the 5th degree of Leo. All right, so let's take a little deep dive into the numerology of the number 5. In numerology, the number 5 is associated with curiosity, the need for variety, adaptability, and experimentation. The energy of the number 5 is about experiencing life, rolling with the punches, being social, and craving adventure. With respect to astrology, the number 5 is associated with the signs Gemini and Virgo. With both of these signs ruled by busybody Mercury, this new moon has an undercurrent of movement and change that some will find uncomfortable, especially if you have a lot of fixed sign energy. In Tarot, the number 5 is associated with the Hierophant card in the major arcana. The Hierophant is the messenger between the gods and the people. The Hierophant is a go-between and represents a pivotal point of change. So this new moon is going to require us to shift and change, which makes sense if we really think about it. Based off what I said before, new beginnings are all about change. And one of my favorite quotes, what I think is really appropriate for this new moon, is to have something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. And I feel like that's the quintessential energy of this Leo new moon. Apart from that, we're also going to have to remain open-minded and flexible, which brings me to my next point. Number 4, this new moon will be opportunistic and chaotic. So Jupiter and Uranus have a lot to contribute to the energy of this new moon. First, Jupiter in Aries will trine the new moon. In astrology, a trine is when two planets form a 120-degree angle between each other. Symbolically, trines denote equilibrium and harmony. So with Jupiter trine the new moon, Jupiter is going to bring this energy of abundance, growth, and expansion. I think this energy is great for new moon because it helps us expand what we're trying to manifest and sort of gives us a little good luck and abundance at the same time. Next, Mercury, the planet of communication, will square Uranus, the planet of surprise and chaos. In astrology, a square is when two planets form a 90-degree angle between each other. Symbolically, squares denote tension and frustration. So basically, the way that Mercury square Uranus is going to play out is that we're going to feel a bit anxious, a bit excited. There's going to be this undercurrent of electricity that sort of runs through this energy of the new moon. Now, Uranus is very unpredictable, so it's really hard to pinpoint and say exactly how this transit is going to pan out. The one thing I will say is expect the unexpected. That's always the case when Uranus is in the mix. Now, don't be surprised if this new moon and this new beginning energy feels a bit chaotic, because that's kind of by design. Uranus represents the universe. It represents the cosmos. Some even think that it represents the hand of God. And we all know that that is something that we definitely can't control. So basically, the best advice is to sort of roll with the punches and let whatever happens, happens. Even though things may not feel good in the moment, trust and believe that they're probably leading you in the right direction. So if you're feeling like there's a lack of control or things are feeling chaotic and out of place for you, just surrender. Number 5, this new moon will be reflective. Now, the last couple of new moons have all had something in common. On the same day as the new moon, we've seen a planet going retrograde, and this new moon is no exception. So on the same day as the new moon in Leo, the planet Jupiter will be going retrograde. Now, I know what you're thinking, especially if you're sort of new to astrology and the only point of reference in terms of retrograde that you have is Mercury. Now, I feel like so many people have PTSD when it comes to Mercury retrograde because you feel like it's going to run havoc in your life and things are going to be messed up and, everything's going to be crazy. And that's so not the case with retrograde generally, and definitely with Jupiter retrograde specifically. Jupiter retrograde is actually pretty nice. It's just a time of reflection, particularly reflection on our growth and development. Jupiter is the planet of expansion and growth. So when it's retrograde, that energy is channeled inward. So we're able to really assess how far we've grown, reflect on our spiritual and even our material growth as well. So in conjunction with the new moon, this energy of Jupiter retrograde is going to allow us to reflect. And reflection is always a good thing when it comes to manifesting something new, because in order to know where you're going, you kind of have to know where you've been. Another important thing about Jupiter retrograde is that it allows us to course correct, particularly any sort of behaviors that we've had that have prevented us from receiving abundance in our lives. We're going to be able to reflect on those and correct them. So Jupiter retrograde is actually a pretty good time, and it's really good energy to start off this new moon. So here's the quick and dirty on what you need to know for the new moon in Leo. Number 1, this new moon is not only fun and dramatic, but is arguably one of the best and luckiest new moons of the year. Number 2, with the new moon going down in the sign of Leo, this new moon has the flavor of creativity and romance. Number 3, happening at 5 degrees Leo, this new moon has an undercurrent of change and the need to be flexible. Number 4, this new moon is opportunistic and chaotic. You may need to surrender to what's going on rather than resist it. And finally, number 5, with Jupiter going retrograde, this new moon brings opportunities for personal and spiritual reflection. All right, so as promised, I pulled some cards for this new moon so that we can get a message from Spirit. So if you've made it this far into the video, comment with a new moon emoji so I know that you're still here and you're still watching. All right, so of course, I get into my shuffling, I get into my prayer, and, I get ready to do the, pull the cards and do the reading. And immediately I get this feeling of being self-conscious. I'm like, do my hands look okay? Am I doing this right? It's almost like this wave of self-consciousness like washed over me. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, I'm so used to tarot. This isn't something that I typically get nervous about, but I almost felt nervous, a little anxious, but extremely self-conscious. And it reminded me of sort of the energy of Leo, because Leo is very attention seeking. Leo loves the limelight, but with the limelight, right, comes being self-conscious. Having all eyes on you, having attention from everyone can have you feeling self-conscious. And so I felt that I was feeling this energy because I think that many of us are going to be feeling a bit self-conscious, particularly with the astrology of this new moon, right? Uranus is running all up and through this new moon. So there's going to be this energy of, and this undercurrent of anxiety. Am I doing this right? Should I be manifesting this? Does this make sense? What are other people going to think? How are other people going to react? And I feel like by and large, the message of this new moon is that whatever speaks to your heart, whatever speaks to your inner child is sort of what you need to plant seeds of, right? People pleasing, while there may be a time for it, this is definitely not the time. I feel like if everyone's going left, you sort of go right. That's the energy of Leo. And I feel like the cards here really represent that. So the first card out we have is acceptance, okay? And so this speaks to sort of that unpredictability of Uranus that I was speaking about before. Rather than resisting what's going on or trying to fight it, or trying to, think it away, right? Especially if you're in the manifesting community. It's almost like when you get a negative thought, you sort of just try to flip that thought, pivot that thought real quick. I don't think that's necessarily the case this time around. I feel like we sort of need to come to an acceptance of what's going on and just surrender. And I love the imagery on this card. If you notice, there's like a whole bunch of hearts and some doves. It denotes peace. And with these hearts, it's like, whatever your heart is saying to you, whatever your inner child is telling you, I think that's sort of the energy that you need to go with. And like I said before, the major theme of this new moon is courage, sort of courage to accept what it is that you love and be convicted in that and really move forward with that, with this new moon. And then we have the path. So typically I only wanted to get one of these cards, but two of them came out and I decided to take it. So yes, this is the path. Many of us are on a journey right now. And I feel like this sort of speaks to that Jupiter retrograde energy. And this new moon is going to allow for some reflection in terms of how much we've grown personally, spiritually, materially, and really assess our path. I think that this new moon will find many of us at a point where on our journey, now is the time to really listen to our heart. I think that many of us have been led by spirit. Many of us have been led by other people's opinions or our outer circumstances. And I feel like we've come to the point in the journey with this new moon in particular, where we need to follow our heart. We need to listen to our heart. We need to be creative, live out loud, and sort of listen to our inner child. And I think that's where many of us are on this path right now. I love how this sort of reminds me of a mirror and of a reflection. And again, I feel like that really speaks to this energy of Jupiter retrograde about reflecting on our paths, reflecting on our growth, reflecting on our spiritual growth, particularly. Next card we have is the Seven of Wands. And the Seven of Wands is all about deceit. It's all about things not appearing as they really are. And what's interesting is lately I've been getting this card in a lot of readings, whether it's been client readings, even readings for myself. And this is just letting me know that things are happening quietly behind the scenes, okay? There's a lot that we're not privy to. And again, this speaks to the unpredictability that's sort of the undercurrent of this new moon. Things are being moved around, things are being shifted. As a matter of fact, the astrology of this particular week has a lot to do with the North Node, and the North Node is all about destiny. And it's sort of like the hand of God or the hand of the universe sort of coming in and mixing things up and placing things where they need to go. And I feel like a lot of that energy is sort of carried into the new moon as well. So things are not necessarily what they appear to be, meaning that the dust hasn't settled, right? So don't think that something is set in stone. Don't think that a particular situation, that's just the way it is and it can't change. There's so much going on behind the scenes that we're just not privy to right now. And that's why we have to remain open-minded and flexible, like I said before, because we have to roll with the punches. It doesn't mean that we can't manifest what we want. It just means that we have to have the courage and the conviction to stand by what we want to manifest because things are changing up around us. All right. And then finally, we have this card, which is the courthouse. This lets me know this is something official. Okay. I feel like anything that you're trying to manifest at this new moon, it has this like stamp of officiality on it. Like it's something regal, right? Because Leo is also a very regal sign, a sign that is associated with royalty. There's something very official about what you may be trying to manifest, or it's going to become something, or whatever you're trying to manifest is going to become very official in your life. Okay. So it's not, this new moon isn't about playing small. And I think I mentioned this before. It's really about being expressive, being creative, following your heart, and doing it in a way, in the Leo way. And the Leo way is very grand, it's very elaborate, it's very showy, it's very look at me, it's very attention seeking. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that the time has come for a lot of us to really stand out. And I think that some of us can be a little afraid of that may be a little intimidating, especially if it's not a part of our nature. But I really think this new moon is asking you to show up and show out because it's time to step into the spotlight. And it's really time to follow your heart and do what makes your heart sing. All right, my loves, that concludes today's video on the new moon in Leo. I sincerely hope that you were able to get at least one important and valuable piece of information that you can use going into this new moon. If you're interested in any of my products or services, those links are in the description box below, so don't forget to check them out. Thank you so much for watching. Happy new moon in Leo, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.